Most people are still trying to get promoted using the same slow, outdated method that worked 10 years ago, back when staying loyal, keeping your head down, and waiting your turn sort of paid off. But the workplace has changed. Unless you upgrade how you approach promotions, you'll keep getting left behind by the people who already have. Because these days, the people who move the fastest aren't waiting to be picked, they're positioning themselves so that their boss has to retain them instead of delaying them. And the best part about this method that I'm about to show you is it doesn't take politics. It just takes a few deliberate changes most people never make. So in this video, I'm going to show you the new system that's helping professionals move up faster, get paid more, and finally escape the cycle of being overlooked. Now, before you even try and get promoted, the thing most people don't realize is it might not even be possible for you to move up in your company at all. And I know that sounds dramatic, but so many people miss the red flags that I'm about to show you and waste years trying to get promoted in a company that's never going to reward them. Because whether you can move up or not has nothing to do with how good you are. It all depends on how the department is structured and where you're sitting inside that structure. And if the structure isn't right or you're sitting in the wrong part of it, then all the traditional advice of just work harder, deliver great results, be a team player, well, none of that works, which is why before you go any further, you need to check if the department you're in even has a path to the top. Because if it doesn't, then it's literally impossible to succeed no matter how good or how hardworking you are. So let me show you how to check this for yourself. Right, so what you're looking at on screen is how departments used to be organized. And it's this clean, structured, hierarchical department. In this case, this is an example from a marketing department. And take notice of just how simple this structure is. You've got coordinator, specialist, manager, director, VP, C-suite. It's literally a staircase, right? And that's why this system worked. You just kept climbing. Everyone knew where up was. And if your department still looks like this, then amazing, because you can climb. But also, are you in the 70s right now? Because this structure was designed for factories, and as factories became offices, that same model came too. But since the digital age, structures have changed a lot, but this model is still the one management are trying to sell you. What I'm saying is it's outdated and it's broken, and it's not how most companies look anymore. This is how departments look now. And straight away, you can feel the difference, right? It's flat. There's no longer this staircase anymore. There's just scattered boxes all over the floor. And this is where it gets dangerous, because if you're sitting in any of these roles here, that means you can't get promoted because you're in what I call a silo. And a silo is a career ender because it means you're not just stuck because you're not good enough, you're stuck because there's literally nowhere for you to go from here. So right now we need to check if you're stuck in a silo or not. And to find out, all you need to do is check two things. Number one is what roles actually exist above you. Number two is how realistic is it to move into those roles? Because this is something that people rarely consider, but I want you to think about it carefully. Can you actually do your boss's job? And I don't mean in the sense of, yeah, he's an idiot, I'd be way better, because it's not yourself you have to convince, it's the company. So do they see you as being able to do the job? In other words, does your skill set and experience match what is actually required for that role? Because just because there is a step above you doesn't mean you're able to get the job if the rungs don't connect to your skill set. And let me show you an example of this. I want you to take a look right here at this marketing analyst who reports to the marketing operations manager. And if you haven't noticed it, there's two huge red flags that this analyst is trapped in a silo. Firstly, their boss is two entire levels above them. And that's important because companies tend to jump you one level at a time. So there isn't really a step above this analyst that they can move into. But more importantly, the second sign is that this analyst is what is known as an enablement role, which means they're more of a support to the department's main function. And the thing about enablement roles is they're all silos, so they don't get promoted, and I'll show you why. You see, the core function of this department is marketing, which means what they do, as in what they output as a department, is marketing ads, campaigns, creative, that sort sort of stuff. And the analyst role just helps the marketing team to do their job better. And what that means is the upward path is reserved for marketers, not the analyst who's reporting on how marketing is performing. So it wouldn't matter how good the analyst is, there's just nowhere for them to go. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, oh, I think I'm trapped in one of those boxes, then yeah, that might explain why things have felt so slow for you to get promoted. But even if you're not stuck right now, this next bit is what's going to stop you from ever getting stuck in the first place. Because once you understand how to navigate your roles deliberately, not just drift towards whatever's nearby, you'll start seeing opportunities all over the company that others miss. And when you know how to move through them fast, you start compounding your growth in ways that most people never figure out. So that's what I'm going to show you next, how to map the exact route through your company that gets you paid more, recognized faster, and make sure you're never trapped in a dead end again. So the first thing you need to do is something a lot of people skip, but it's the key to finding opportunities, and it's to plan your journey. And I know it sounds really obvious, but this is something that so many people just get completely wrong, because most people say stuff like, I want to be a VP one day, or I'm just trying to get promoted. And that's not really a plan, it's just a vague wish. And the problem with vague goals like that is that they completely fall apart the second the company changes direction, which it always does. You get a new boss, a new structure, a new strategy, and suddenly your ladder's gone and you might be trapped in a silo, if you even survive the restructure at all. So I like to think of it like this. Imagine you're driving somewhere new and you're using a GPS in your car and it's telling you which way to go. Everything's going well, but then you turn a corner and suddenly the road's closed. Now, what does the GPS do? It doesn't just panic and say, well, there's no way to your destination. It reroutes you. It will still get you to the same place. It will just reroute you through a different set of roads. And that's what your career plan needs to do. You don't just pick a random destination like get promoted. You pick the correct destination, the specific role that you want. And then you map every turn it takes to get there. And if you have the right destination in mind, then you can reroute it even when the roads close or the company restructures. But it's really important that you pick the right role, because some will get you to your goal and some will trap you in a silo. And in order to pick the right role, there's two traits that you need to look out for. All right, so let's say you're working as a social media executive. You've picked out two roles you'd love to grow into one day, the head of digital experience and the creative director. Now let's run both of these roles through the two traits and see if they're good roles to aim for. So the first thing to check is, how connected is that role? What you're looking for here is how many roles naturally lead into it, because the more roles that feed into a position, the easier it is to transition into it. It's like having more lanes open on the motorway. More routes in means more chance of getting there without having to jump through hoops and less risk of getting siloed. So if we look at both of these roles, the digital experience and the creative director, they both pass this test pretty well. They've got multiple roles that feed into it and there's lots of overlap. And so they're not likely to get siloed, so that's pretty good. But here's where it gets interesting, because just because there's a path in theory doesn't mean it's one you're able to take. And that's where check number 2 comes in, and it's all about checking the transferability. So you basically want to ask, what do people in that role actually do? And does it line up with your existing skill set? And here's where a lot of people get caught out, because they fall in love with a role or title, or they think, well, I'll just work really hard and eventually I'll be able to get that role. But they haven't looked at whether they actually belong in that skill pool that the role's drawing from. So if we take the head of digital experience, that role usually gets filled by people from SEO, web, digital strategy, product style thinking, and you as a social media executive probably have strengths in content creation, trends research, short form brand creative, and stuff like that, right? And so there's just not a lot of overlap. The digital experience leans a lot more into technology, whereas what you're in right now is a lot more creative. And that's the thing about picking the right role. Just because it looks amazing might not mean your skill set is a match. But if we take a look at the creative director, then this one's a bit different. The roles are fed by people in copywriting and campaign strategy and email marketing, stuff that overlaps a lot more closely with what you're already doing. So instead of trying to leap into the new world and hope someone gives you a chance, you're just nudging sideways into a space that already values the sort of work that you're doing. And that's where this really clicks, because if you keep doing what you're doing and hope to get promoted within your current silo, you'll probably just plateau eventually. But if you make even a few small intentional shifts, then you open up a whole new route that gives you a better shot, more options, and more growth. But there's a way to level this up even more, because if choosing the right role gives you 10 times more opportunity, then what I'm going to show you next can give you 100 times more. But before we get to that, I can already hear what you're saying. Josh, those roles aren't really promotions though, it's just a sideways move. And yeah, I get that. On paper, it's not a promotion. But here's why this is still a really smart move. Because if you're able to spot these moments where a formal role change is possible, even at the same level, then you just entered what I call a change window. And these are huge opportunities, because in that moment when process kicks in and someone's got to sign off on a new title or department switch, you suddenly have leverage. That's when you can negotiate a bump in salary or a tweak in your role or get some new benefits approved. And the system's going to be a lot more open to actually doing that, because the change is already happening. So a lateral move is one of the few moments where there's less pushback from the company. And if you're prepared, you can take advantage of it without making it seem like you're trying to get a favor out of them. And a lateral move is just one of the 6 major change windows you should be aware of. And if you want to learn what the other 5 are and how to spot them before they disappear, then I've broken them all down in the promotion playbook, which you can grab for free in the description. Anyway, picking the right role will get you a lot of opportunities, but this next move will get you even more opportunities, and is genuinely overlooked by so many people, and it's something that has worked for me so many times. So most people only look up. They look at their own department and think, okay, what's the next step above me? But that's the old way of thinking, back when there was actually a hierarchy. But now that companies are a lot more flat, there's an even better way. So if you want to get promoted really quickly, then the new game is all about looking across. Because the truth is, the more flat companies get, the more overlapping skills exist between departments. So if you're this social media person, maybe you don't have to wait for a job to open up in this marketing team. You could lean into your skill of content writing, and then this will open up so many doors. You could go into sales enablement, internal comms, PR, even making learning development content in HR. And then, if you're in those, each of those roles opens up even more doors of its own. That's why I always tell people to stop thinking of their career like a straight ladder upwards and start treating it like a pathway, something that's fluid and something you need to keep navigating and adjusting as you go, because every move opens up routes, and every route compounds your pay. And if that sounds good, then you need to know that for all of this to actually work, there's one thing you have to have, and that is a company that supports learning and development and internal transfers. And if they don't, then you're back to that silo, and you're potentially leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table over your career. So before you waste another year trying to fight a system that's never going to promote you, you need to know the warning signs that you're stuck in a company that will never let you grow, no matter what you do. And that's exactly what I break down in this next video, so go and watch that now before you waste another year trying to climb a ladder that doesn't even exist.